developing room of the mind. In visualizing, the quiet, darkened room in which we carry on our work now becomes our developing room. Here we enter inwardly into a condition of consciousness which is similar in principle to the developing room. The room in which our thought developing is accomplished must be darkened for the same reason which causes us unconsciously to carefully protect and seal with our will the impression of our projected thought until development has taken place. It is now, as we know, a specialized and preserved form of thinking substance, highly sensitive and impressionable and highly magnetized. Like the photographic film, it must be kept from contact with or exposure to the external vibrations of objective thinking of our own or other minds. The darker the room can be, the better it will serve its purpose of providing outwardly the condition which we mentally need. It must more than ever be a silence room as well as a darkened room, since at Till's time we are providing an outer environment which corresponds with and provides the tone and atmosphere for our subjective mental condition, and from which must be excluded not only light reactions which affect our mental state, but those of sound as well. In fact, no sense distraction or disturbing external vibration of any kind must be permitted to enter. If a silence room or retreat of this kind cannot be provided, then, as in the instance of the dark chamber, we must arrange to make our bedroom the place for treating our thought. In the hushes of the night, in the very early hours immediately after midnight, our best mental developing work can be done, since the outer objective vibrations are at their lowest. An ideal silence room, in itself, can be made a first object upon which to visualize if we are not provided with such, so that through visualizing we may so shape the circumstances and conditions of our homes that a silent room for all visualizing purposes may be secured. Our projected understanding or thought undergoes a peculiar transformation before it reaches this outward stage of development. Originally, it is an imaged objective thought of a mental object. Then passing into our subjective thinking, it becomes an imaged and impressed subjective thought or form of understanding of which we become objectively unconscious and subjectively conscious. It is this objective and positive form of understanding which became subjective and magnetic the moment it became embedded in subjective thinking, that we now find drawing its further deposits from the mind solution which we call subsense consciousness. And these deposits of mind become positive with the introduction of the projected thought and respond to its drawing power. In this way, we said our enfilmed subjective thought image or understanding draws and gathers together around itself a chemical structure or mental deposit out of the objective or positive subconscious substance which our thought subjectively controls. Infinitely rare and invisible at first, this deposit becomes more and more a visible process, manifesting as persons, things, circumstances, and conditions, until the complete mental picture is outwardly reproduced. It is difficult to get across to the student a thorough, comprehensive idea of what is really meant when we speak of a subsense consciousness, in which the imaged and impressed thought sinks itself for the purpose of further outward development. We can think of the subsense consciousness as a mental chemical developing solution, and in the sense of an underlying body-forming mind substance of such infinite rarity that it is inconceivable for us to form any conception of it. And from this state, we can think of it as being embodied in all the forms and expressions of outward objective life. We are individualized, not individual units of this subsense consciousness. We are individualized only in the sense that we are expressions or manifestations of it, but not separate from it, so that when we say our projected thought or understanding is transferred or placed into our subconsciousness, it means that it becomes sunk not in an individual subconsciousness, but rather in a universal, unlimited ocean of subjective or static consciousness everywhere present and in which we move and have our being. It is thus that our imaged or projected understanding passes into subconsciousness, subjectively drawing or pulling to it all that it needs in the sense of material or substance or body for its outward development, and from a depth limited only by the reaching influence and magnetic draining power possessed by our understanding. If the formed light of thought is sufficiently intense, strong, and sharp, implying a pure, full, and sufficient understanding or projection of the mental object, then its impression will be deep, and correspondingly its drawing power, when transferred to the subsense consciousness, also will be far and deep-reaching. Here, in these deeper levels, our subjective understanding recognizes and finds at its disposal all the unknown and forgotten contents and treasures of thought, all the teeming psychic activities of life, all the wisdom and experience of untold ages which has sunk to lower levels in the course of time. It is these which contain and which are all the material and substance of our subsequent outward picture. It is these which are in a subjective or static state of being in this ocean until quickened into objectivity by that mysterious transmutation of vibrating energy which our illumined thought brings with it. And it is these which are drawn to our understanding out of these deeper levels to the level of our objective consciousness, where they become the dense deposit which settles upon and around our projected thought. Just as the photographer has access to the chemical developing agents and to the knowledge of their application for producing his modifications, so have we mental access to the mental mechanical principles and to the intelligence whereby these principles can be applied for the purpose of modifying and regulating the development of our mental picture. In the mental photographic process of developing our reflected and impressed thought, there are, of course, certain mental laws which serve as formulas for developing. If these formulas or mental conditions are intelligently provided for by us, then our part of the mental developing work is for the most part completed. Consciously and objectively, it is not we who are developing results at this point of the developing process of our submerged thought. The law of development inherent within our understanding and within our thinking substance is working subjectively for us, gathering together the deposits or infinitely delicate chemical structure around the infilmed mental light which our understanding has become, our attitude becomes one simply of cooperation. Occasionally, we may consciously take our submerged thought image from its mental chemical bath. We may carefully review its progress mentally or see if our visualizing formula has been carried out correctly. We may strengthen or modify the subjective condition according to the needs of our developing thought image. But aside from this, we know that our treatment has started in motion, a characteristic of our impressed understanding, resulting in a process of formulation, specialization, and differentiation, which will unerringly bring about the given results. Once our understanding thought has been projected into our subconsciousness, it finds in this mental chemical solution an infinitely rare underlying body substance by means of which it can formulate itself and through which it can move and extend itself in the direction of its outward fulfillment, going beyond the limits of our own individualized subjective condition of mind and out into the unlimited ocean of universal subjective mind in which all of us are, and we can assist only by moving in the direction in which our developing thought moves us. When we realize that this principle of development is working for us in the manner in which we have described, then all anxious thought on our part will cease as to how or when our thought is to materialize or the means to be employed. The fact is, we should never, in visualizing, attempt to define the manner through which our projective thought will make its outwardly visible appearance. The $10,000 we seek to visualize may come as the result of the death of a rich uncle. It may come from the sale of a piece of property. It may come from a friend seeking an investment through us. Or it may come to us through the most remote, intermediate, and unexpected source. All that we know, and this with an unerring certainty, is that the condition, the avenue, the means available and susceptible are opening themselves to provide for the development and appearance on the visible plane of our invisible developing thought.